with me, your boy Harry13, and our special birthday boy co-host today,
Hello, it's Claudio. Yes, I'm getting
Claudio.
older today. Death,
You are
death
getting older.
approaches.
The king of the swamp lives to see another year.
Yeah.
So, did you get anything nice for your birthday?
Nothing much. I don't really do anything for my birthday.
Yeah, that's kind of the same as me. Like, I turned 30 at the end of the year, and I did absolutely nothing. So,
Yeah.
I feel that.
At some point you start getting depressed as the older you get. Not
Yeah,
not
yeah. Your joints don't recover as quickly as they used to, and stuff like that. Yeah, the bones get brittle.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but no, happy birthday, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
Hope you have a good day. So right, basically, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to discuss the meta, the Pioneer meta. We're going to look at a couple events this weekend. No spoilers, but one of us did quite well in the showcase, and it wasn't me. So we will dive into that. So let's start the show off with the Saturday. I believe it's the Saturday challenge, 22nd of
Yeah,
January. So
yeah,
we're gonna
that's the
look at
start of the challenge. I think it's really interesting to see the events in the day before when this kind of stuff happens, because we have the regular challenge on Saturday and on Sunday we have the showcase qualifier.
yeah.
So it's kind of nice to see if the choices that people made on Saturday influenced the other tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think it will be interesting to see the differences in the top eight or even like the top 16, how it went down. So in first place we've got Binu, who is an absolute god of my. I don't think I've ever beat him.
Yeah, it's a
Maybe
very good
once.
player.
Like very good player. So Binu won the event. So we can take a look at that list. It was Black Red
Like red,
making.
the like the blood, the Rakdos blood, as people has have been calling it.
Yeah, so it's a nice take on the deck. What's your thoughts on it?
I actually played a bit with this because I like this is pretty interesting. This is very different from the Arcanist deck because it has kind of a aggressive posture into it. Like because you have a bunch of early creatures, like this hits for 3, this has haste, like this pings them. You kind of are more aggressive than you would think, which is kind of a problem of the other deck. Like your clock was not fast enough. Like it's not like this deck is blazingly fast, but it plays out very differently for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's on like the kind of aggro side of mid range, I'd say. Like
Hmm.
I don't think it's the lowest to the ground deck you're going to play, but like you get the good mixture of aggressive creatures and Blood Tithe Harvester, and you've got the Voldaren Epicure. It's quite nice, and the thing I like about the deck is it has a lot of these creatures allow you like tokens that discard, and you can get rid of any irrelevant cards, but it allows you to play like niche cards like Fiery Temper, which I think is a nice
Hmm.
touch.
Yeah, like
Um,
the blood tokens are really relevant, even like because of course you have the deadly disputes, but
yeah,
they are super nice because they enable fatal push pretty easily, which is not something that many pioneer decks can do.
yeah.
And
So
like if you're playing as a control deck, you just get free cycling for your bad spell, so it's really good, I think.
yeah, I think it's a mechanics impressed me more when I've seen it getting played, and yeah, definitely like this list. It's pretty hot, to be honest. You know
Yeah, I was not
not
loving the blue matchups. I think this deck, like, I was trying to improve that a little bit, but I think this deck is really cool. It gives you a ton of agency. I just think it needs to be refined a bit more.
Yeah, of course, it's obviously still a work in progress, and I think B News list isn't too far off, but yeah, there's probably some improvements to be made. But yeah, no, it's nice. Angrass Rampage, given the amount of ascendancy is quite high, highly played right now. So a couple of feed the swarm Angrass Rampage, deal with the caryatids and the ascendancy, and then the kind of standard ever since Phoenix has been top tier, Go Blank as a 4 of has kind of been the standard in these kind of decks in the 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, list is, yeah.
This deck definitely looks like very bad when you look at it. Like, why you're not
Yeah,
playing Arcanist, but give this a try. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
yeah, I agree. And if we look at the next list, Mazina Linda, another very good Magic player.
She's
She
playing
came
Big Red.
second. Yeah, Big Red. This deck's it's doing better than I thought. I mean, I like this. I like this version better than the first iteration, where it was kind of like in the mid. Like, I don't think these decks, when they're strictly mid range, tend to perform well. But given, it's gone a little bit lower to the ground, I think it's in a reasonable position. Like, playing like 8 Eidolon effects, it's a bit of a nightmare to try and deal with that. And then obviously you get lightning strikes to play with fire, and Chandra Tortured Defiance is a nice top end, because I felt like Torbran, although like if it doesn't get answered, it's really impactful. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just don't think it's worth the 4 mana investment. I think,
Kind of
just
clunky,
keeping.
right?
Yeah, it's super clunky, and like if you're playing that alongside Chandra, like you don't really want those draws where you don't have a nice curve. Like, this deck looks like it's poised to curve out very well. And
I definitely
obviously,
like
like,
this approach as well. Like playing more one drops and more actual spells, so your prowess creatures don't suck.
yeah, well, I mean, exactly. Like, the prowess creatures are like the main draw to red, right? Like, those creatures are just so good for the mana investment. Like, Soulscar Mage is like one of my most hated Magic cards, to be honest. Because let's be honest, when do I ever play aggro decks? But like, and Swift Spear is just like a nice 1-2 punch. And then you've got obviously the cards in Cemetery Gatekeeper and Eidolon to kind of pressurize your opponents if they're kind of mid-range control. And then obviously you've got the nice 3 drops like Bone Crusher Giant, just a very good value card for the rate. And yeah, just a smooth deck, very smooth.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I always hate losing to this deck because I think this deck is kind of medium, but it puts you into situations where like you're kind of half dead and they have an idol in play. Then you look at their lands, they have a bunch of Ramnap ruins, so you're dead anyways.
yeah, they just have so much reach, like in the
Yeah.
deck. Like Den of the Bugbear as well was just such a nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good like creature land, isn't it? Like, I hate Den of the Bug. The amount of times I've like managed to stabilize and then I'm like, oh, I'm just dead to that Den of the Bugbear they've got in play.
Yeah,
And it happens
it's
quite
always
often.
nice to have like an aggro deck that always has ways of using its mana. Like you have a
Yeah,
ton of stuff to do between like the Bun Crushers like, and your lands. This
maybe
deck
that's why
is
more.
really
Mm, sorry.
yeah, like and you see like the Ferozedons in the sideboard now because John is not that played anymore, at least
Yeah.
at the moment. Yeah, that's pretty solid. I like this list for now.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why decks like Mono Black aggro been kind of pushed out, because like the main draw to like Mono Black was like how many utility lands you had in those colors, but now like you have them in red as well, and it's like maybe this just takes over the Mono Black aggro slot.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that's
So
kind of the draw for playing monocolor, no matter what. Like even if you're playing mono whites, let's say like all the mono cards in Pioneer, you always have like a super strong mana base because you got to play Multivaults and like the creature lands and stuff.
mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty solid deck. We have seen like this before, and it's kind of sticking around for a while now. I'd say
Yeah.
this is like probably not going away.
Yeah, I think it'll stay around. Depending on what Neon Dynasty, how that impacts the format, I don't really see it going away anytime soon. But
Hmm.
yeah, so nice choice by Mujina. Yeah, good job getting to the finals. Next on our list, we've got Boy Triton with White Reds, a heroic.
Yeah, probably like
Um,
the most popular aggro deck in the format now, right?
yeah, like it's not really gained so much in terms of like creatures, but like Ancestral Anger is a nice addition to the deck, and I think that's kind of drawn people to play it. And yeah, this deck's dangerous. Like, I hate playing against this deck.
Yeah,
They they can kill you so fast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think if as long as like Fatal Push isn't like the default removal spell, maybe that's why that black red deck ended up winning, because I feel like a Fatal Push, I think this deck would be pretty weak to that Rakdos list. But
Makes
yeah,
sense.
Ancestral Anger is a nice pickup, and
Yeah,
ever
like
since Hamuda did well with it. I think Hamuda got to the finals, won the challenges a few weeks ago. It's been played quite heavily since.
yeah, that makes sense to me. Like red removal, let's like the most popular decks now are like the blue red, like the blue red X decks, like Phoenix and Ascendancy. And like the red removal they play is not very good against this deck, or the sorcery speed removal in the form of deck that change to the rocks and portable holes. They play
Yeah, exactly.
kind of poorly against God's Willing.
So yeah, that's the main draw to this deck right now, is like the way the popular colors in the format. The removal doesn't line up well against like the spells you have. So yeah, this is
I
not
think
really.
this deck is kind of exploiting a hole in how the popular decks interact, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and that's why I think this deck would do horrendously against vampires if that picked up again. But like vampires seems to be on the downswing. So yeah, fair enough. I mean, I've not really got much else to say about it. It's almost identical to lists we've seen previously. So but yeah, just take note this deck is here to stay in the short term. So fourth place, we've got not really much to say. It's Naya, it's Winota. Winota's one of these kind of tier 1.5 decks that is still played quite often. It's not hasn't done super well on the top ends of the table, but like it's
like a pretty powerful deck. It's going to show up from time to time.
Yeah, I mean it's just
the deck's
you don't
capable of really dumb things, and that's how it works.
Yep, that's pretty much it for
but
that.
I only want to touch a little bit on the sideboard. I really like the sideboard that this person has. Mission Martyrs seems really good. In a deck with a bunch of mana sources, like if you play against like decks like Big Red and stuff like that, humans. It seems like really good. It answers Thing in the Eyes. I'm not sure if you're bringing this in against Phoenix, but it does the job.
Yeah, because I mean, like, Thing in Ice is like one of the few threats that that changes the matchup. Yeah. So I think having answers that are maybe slightly less efficient but can deal with a lot more threats is worth having in the sideboard. So yeah, Museum Mortars is a nice choice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
right.
So that's that. And then in fifth place,
I think this is the same list that Mazinha Lindo's playing.
Yeah. It is exactly the same list. There's not really, we won't really go over that much, but it's just to show you that the top 5 decks that were played, the top 5 place decks were all aggro or aggro mid range. So maybe the metas came round to going low is the way to go. The weekend just there, that will almost certainly change. Going forward, but it's interesting to see a consistent pattern at the top of the tables that weekend. And then
sixth place you have Ascendancy. I think this list is kind of this stock now, right? Like the Omnath, the version without Omnaths, a couple portable holes.
Yeah. So
this one is playing one scape.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people just want to play cards like this, just to because of the fuel bads of having like multiple treasure cruises. But I'm not convinced. I felt Escape to the Wild was like extremely clunky. If you had access to cards like Memory Delusion stuff, obviously you can't play that. But if you did, I can understand playing like a 4 mana spell like that. But 5 mana is a lot to ask, and it's not going to help you go off. Do you know what I mean? Like you're never going to have 5 spare mana unless you have like double ascendancy or like 2 Caryatids in play. So I'd probably recommend not playing Escape to the Wilds.
I think this is a good card for the Go Blank matchups. So like maybe you want to suction sideboard something like this.
I think if you had it in the sideboard, it's perfectly understandable. Like I think it's definitely it's definitely a good card to have. I think that main is not really where you want it. To be honest, I would stick with 4 Treasure Cruise. I like 4 Treasure Cruise, especially when you're not playing Omnath, so you have less like value cards. So like you really want, you really want to see a Treasure Cruise when you're trying to go off because it basically more often not guarantees the win, especially if you're playing like 3 Sylvan Awakening. Um, you want that. But I think I'm starting to come around to the 4 Caryatid 2 Growth Spiral package. Like I feel like I really like Paradise Druids in a lot of situations, but sometimes like especially against the blue decks, like the way you win is like especially against like Phoenix and stuff, like you just all you really want to do is just guarantee that you get ahead on mana. And although Paradise Druid is a mana dork, like it can be dealt with like quite easily. So I like having access to Growth Spiral just to kind of try and get ahead and like play around the mystical disputes and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially now that the mono red decks are playing Chain Wheeler, it seems like a huge liability to play Paradise Druids.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. I agree. So I think like I still think Paradise Druid was a good choice, but maybe not quite good enough at the moment. I like this. This is what I'm kind of playing like 3 Chain to the Rocks, 2 Portable Hole. I think Chain to the Rocks is just. I think people underestimate how important Chain to the Rocks is in a lot of situations. Like I just like having it. I think playing none or one copy. I played that recently, like one copy in like 3 to 4 Portable Hole main, and I just felt like I was definitely missing that removal spell, albeit slightly more conditional. But yeah, this list maybe a couple of things I would change, but overall it's pretty good. Like I think it's a lot.
yeah, like the core of the deck is mostly here. You're not going
Yeah,
to see something too different from this for the most part.
yeah, exactly. I think like my mana base is slightly different, and P-Tarts gave me a decent mana base that he came up with. I've quite liked playing more Sacred Foundries, but um, I think Sacred Foundry, especially playing Chain to the Rocks, like Sacred Foundry is really good.
Yeah.
Radiant Flames main, yeah, I can get behind it. Like you just want a more genetic, like you want a Wrath to like deal with the low to the ground decks. Although I'm not being super impressed by Radiant Flames because like especially with like it's obviously really good against like red mono red. It's not really good against heroic because they can outgrow it really quickly. But I can see justification for playing one main. Um, but yeah, I mean, sideboard. I'm not a massive fan of playing 2 Silence, to be honest. I like playing one, but I've actually found that you kind of most of the time you're going to be playing against Phoenix, and you feel like you want to bring 2 in, but there's not really room. Like you have to still keep in like 3 Chain to the Rocks. They're only playing 1 Fry, but you also want to bring in cards like Mentor and stuff like that. And Silence is just a lot of the time it just doesn't do enough. To be honest, you want to see it like you want to see it maybe like super late on or when you're trying to go off. Like drawing them early is just kind of bad. Like it's just a card. It just doesn't do anything. Like and you want like they're drawing like 3 cards, 2 cards here and there, and then you get to situations where you've got like 4 cards in hand, like 1 or 2 lands in silence, and they've got like 7 like full grip, and you just feel like super far behind post board. So, for as good as it is, like I'd probably stick to playing it as a one-of in the sideboard. Grafdigger's Cage, not really that convinced it's worth playing. Um, like I've seen a couple of people play Dredge right now, which obviously that card would be sick against, but like don't think that's going to
I
pick up.
think it's nice against Winota.
Yeah, okay.
Well.
Yeah, okay. I can get behind that. Winota is quite a close matchup in my opinion, but yeah, like having that is basically having access to that's
It
just
buys you so many turns.
Yeah, but in fairness though, like I'd rather have it, especially this weekend. I think people will be playing. I think there'll be a number of people playing Angels, and I think Alpine Moon is probably more relevant, right? Because it deals with Lotus Field and it just like gives you an out to the combo
Yeah,
in Angels.
Lotus Field did quite well this weekend.
Yeah,
I agree with playing something for them.
yeah. So I'd rather play Alpine Moon in that slot over the kind of the Grafdigger's Cage, to be honest. But each to their own. So yeah, I mean that's all I've got to say about this list. There's nothing too fancy going on.
Yeah.
Don't know if yeah.
I
So
don't
yeah.
have anything else to say about that one as well. Like, so in seventh place here we have Bowen playing his signature weird blue black deck.
Yeah, Powen. I played
He
Powen a
does
lot.
well in tournaments,
Yeah,
so but yeah, because like in the end of the day, the deck's playing a bunch of reasonable cards.
yeah. Like I always have words with Powen whenever we get paired in leagues because I always find a lot of their choices like I just don't really understand like a lot of their choices in terms of like I get it, but why are they in the slots that they're in? Like why just play two Shark Typhoon, um, two Thing in the Ice? I can understand Thing in the Ice, right? Because obviously it's a powerful card, but you're not as proactive with your spells as you are against like as you are in Phoenix. So you can't really turbo Thing that often, and if you can't turbo it, then I don't think it's nearly as effective. But it's still good. And I like that they've got rid of the Jace. They used to play Jace Ringe Prodigy, which I just thought was just nowhere near good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Drowning in the Loch, I'm not really a fan of in a Treasure Cruise format. Like it
Yeah, I
doesn't
really like
make
this
sense to
card,
me.
but I don't think it's playable in Pioneer.
No, in Pioneer, like as long as you have good Dell spells, I just wouldn't play Drowning in the Loch. I've just stand by that and I won't budge on it. I I think trying to talk about Powen's decks just gives me brainworms sometimes. No offense, Powen, but there's just a
Yeah,
lot of
I
stuff going
think
on.
this is kind of a old school deck building in control decks where you want to play a bunch of one-offs because of like your card selection. I think this is something that people don't do anymore for the most
Yeah,
part. Like you want to play a bunch of four-offs for your cards because you want to be doing the same thing every game.
yeah, and like one Kalitas in the board. Like why one? Like, why only one copy? I don't get that.
Mm.
But so I'm not
My
here to
opinion
bash.
on Kalitas these days is quite low. I'm not sure I would even play this card. Because
Yeah,
like all the aggro decks can deal with this pretty easily. Like
yeah,
Heroic
like
has the Reckless Rage, Big Red, just Chandra.
getting Kalitas Chandra is one of the most miserable experiences you'll ever face. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like you just lose on the spot when that happens. Like honestly,
Yeah,
like
this
it's just
happened to
so.
me today. It was not pleasant.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, good job, Powen. I mean, I think you play your deck well. If you're
Yeah,
listening to
I
this,
think this like Blue Black is like pretty good against Heroic.
I think Blue Black is pretty well positioned in general, right? Like I feel like you're playing Narset, which is great. Like Phoenix and Ascend, like more so Ascendancy than Phoenix, but like they have a really tough time dealing with it. And then
Mm-hmm.
like whenever I'm playing Ascendancy against Blue Black, I have to work like super hard for my wins if I get them. Um, so yeah, I think like for once, Oi Brov control is actually in a reasonable
A good
spot. But
choice. Yeah.
I mean, maybe even for this weekend, especially if you get to see what your opponents are playing, I think that gives an advantage. To be honest, but yeah, this list is
Like this
the
is
power.
not playing many counter spells, but let's say would be playing like a normal Blue Black list. It's kind of nice playing against Ascendancy because they have very few relevant cards. So if you never let Ascendancy or even Sibon Awakening resolve, it's fairly easy to win the game. That's why the deck is so weak against Blue White, because the deck has like a decent amount of counter magic and only a few of your cards actually matter.
Exactly, like Dovin's veto is just impossible to interact with in a meaningful way. So yeah, that's why
Mhm.
the matchup's very miserable for Sensei. But yeah, yeah, that's all I got to say for that. Good job, Powen.
Yeah.
Keep powing along with your blue black pile as usual. But good job.
In eighth,
Um,
eighth place, we have a deck that I think I talked about with someone last week, which I think this deck is kind of well positioned now.
Mono black. Just as I was slating it earlier on, saying mono red took his place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mono black aggro like Bolovo. If you're watching, take notes.
Take notes. I think this is probably like below this though from the last time he did well with the deck. Because I recognize the split. The special split. But like an aggressive deck with self-inflicted wound in the sideboard looks really good against Ascendancy.
Yeah.
Like you have Thoughtseize and you have pressure. So I think this deck is pretty good.
Is Mono Black Aggro always played Knight of the Ebon Legion?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I'm not going crazy. Yeah. Looks Mono Black Aggro, like very
Mono
classic
Black
build.
Aggro, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
yeah, and I think you can play this again now because the people are not playing vampires to ruin your day. So,
yeah. Good job, Roberto. That's
I don't
nice
think
to
I see any innovation here. They're not playing Faceless Haven.
No.
And that's about it. So only choose Paul of Mayhem now, which is kind of good. This is always the worst creature in the deck. So at some point, I hope this is going to get cut if they release something better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty cool. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about here in the top 16. There's a copy of Humans, Mono Blue Spirits.
Yeah, I think we can move on to the kind of main event, which was the showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go on to the showcase. So, yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah, the event was won by Heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Which they went undefeated in the tournament. I played against them last round, but I scoped because I wanted to take a break since I was already locked for top 8, so we didn't play.
Yep.
But they went undefeated. They went undefeated.
I mean, deck. If you have Fortune on your side, this deck can be very difficult to beat. So I can understand that. Good job, Kamata man. This is a very impressive result. I don't really have anything.
I think this definitely puts like the name in the coffin. Like this is like the default aggro deck now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like unless things change a lot where like this deck becomes bad because people are playing a bunch of fatal push decks. I don't think this is going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, deck looks very strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, good job.
Second place we see Phoenix, which was absent from the other top 8.
Yeah, I mean Phoenix, you have to play Phoenix very well. I still think Phoenix is probably the top deck in the format, followed by Ascendancy, in my opinion. But like, there's only so much hate you can take before you have to consider if it is the best deck to play, despite being the best deck in the format. But like, stock, like this is pretty much what I see throughout the board. They're playing Alpine Moon in the board as a flex slot, and then they're playing a couple of Stern Dismissals. But yeah, deck looks like what I've seen in a lot of Phoenix decks, like the 4 Lightning Axe, 2 Flame Blessed, and 2 Fire Impulse. That's the kind of standard removal suite. The 2 Trespass, 2 Cruise, 4 Puzzles, and then either 1 to 2 Galvanic iterations, depending on. Normally you see like 3 Charter Course instead of 4 with an extra iteration, but yeah, pretty stock.
Yeah, like for the most part, this is what people are doing. If you're not Akaros, people are kind of on this list now with the Treasure Crew, the Temperature Express, and etc. No Crackling Drake. This is kind of standard. Yeah, not much.
Now let's get to the good players, right? So
yeah, in fourth place we have.
Is it fourth place missing the squats?
Oh, I missed the squats as well.
Classic Claudio, so toxic.
Yeah. On third place we have Number Spots.
Yeah, I love this deck. I was playing it in leagues and it was so sick, but unfortunately this deck can never beat aggro. So it's not Squat's creation. I think it was what's his name? It starts with an H. Stefan and someone else.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember that he tagged the people that
Wing
actually
to Sar? Is it Wing to Sar?
Yeah, Wing Sar, yeah.
Yeah, this is so good. So like basically this deck plays around Narset so well. So like the game plan is to go like Emergent Ultimatum into Behold the Beyond, Dark Protection,
Omnish, yeah.
and Omniscience. If they let you keep Omniscience, you just win the game, right? But if they give you like Dark Protection, Behold the Beyond, you basically cast Emergent Ultimatum with like one blue floating, and then you stack it so that Behold the Beyond resolves first, and you get like three two you get two hidden strings, one Omniscience, and then you cast Dark Petition to get Balaged recovery to bring back, I'm guessing, Emergent Ultimatum. And then basically you get to the point where you can Masterminds Acquisition for Approach of the Second Sun, and then I think like what you're to do is you get Balaged recovery, bring it back, and then get Approach from your deck and win the game. But yeah, I really like this build. It basically just ignores
basically you don't need to draw cards to win if you have enough mana, which is yeah, as you said, you can kill draw Narset, which can come up.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a sick deck, and Nam is Nam's obviously a very good Magic player. Can play decks like these with ease, and obviously they got the job done by getting the top 8. So good job to the mighty Squats.
There's
loosely associated.
The spicy swan song in the main deck.
Yeah, the swan song. I will say Nam is loosely associated with the tag team, but can't really call him an official member at this point, you know.
Yeah, he's not good enough to be in the tag team.
Yeah, he's not active enough in the card, you know. But no, good job, Nam.
But I think this deck is really good, and I like seeing a bunch of natural states in the sidebar to deal with deafening silences.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this list was hot, and it was a good choice with Weekend, but probably wouldn't play Lotus going forward. There's just so much aggro flying about the format right now.
Yeah, Heroic is particularly dangerous when they know that you can't kill their creatures.
Yeah,
because they don't need to play around anything. They just get to go ham on the pump spells, and things can get dicey.
It's like Infect, right? Like it just gets you so fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, good job. And then we've got the genius that is Traff, scamming people with his Gigantha in the Spirits list. Shout out to our tag team member Traft. Good job, good result. Phil Scotsman as well. Yeah, this list is
like it's pretty standard. It's pretty stock Spirits, but as the sly old man he is, he decided to play one Gigant in the sidebar to make his opponents think that he was on Ascendancy.
Yeah, so
which
he probably stole a few
sick,
game ones,
right?
Yeah, it's really smart, and he theoretically can cast it because he's got 2 mana confluence in the deck.
Yeah.
So it's not like a truly dead slot. Like it is, like there is a situation where you could cast it. So yeah, this was just really smart. Good job, like Traff.
This happened to me. I was playing a league and they revealed Giganta. I was playing the Rakdos Blood deck. I had a bunch of fatal pushes that I needed to mulligan, and it was Spirits. I got destroyed.
Yeah, like, yeah, like this is like a kind of shot in the dark. Like this only works once, right? Like once it gets revealed that Spirits was playing Gigantha, like that will change things a lot. But this was a really smart decision. It probably ended up being the reason why he did as well as he did. Like, Traft is obviously like a well-known Spirits player as well. If anyone's going to do well with Spirits, it's more likely going to be Traft than anyone. So, especially blue-white Spirits, that's his kind of signature archetype. So yeah, congrats, mate. Good job. And yeah, really.
The last time I played this deck, the technology we found was the Valor stance. It was a reprint, but it was pretty good in the format. This helps you kill Thing in the Ice and Winota. and like Kalitas and stuff. It actually deals with a bunch of problematic creatures. So yeah, but like very cool to see this deck again. Usually you see Bounce doing well in events, but we both like the Blue Spirits deck more.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer Blue-White Spirits as well, especially when it's got a fake companion in it.
Fake.
Nice, good job. And then, what are we going to talk about next? We're going to talk about Black Red. Oh no, wait. I think we've got a fifth place. A fifth place here. And yeah, congrats to Claudio. Good job, mate. With your top 8. So since we've got the man himself, I think we should go into a wee bit more detail with your list. We can just ignore the rest. But right, Claudio, run me through the deck, why you chose it, and what cards you thought were going to go well into this tournament.
Yeah, like basically, whenever I play a serious tournament, I will always choose to play Niv because I just hold the opinion that if you know what you're going to face, you can beat the deck to beat anything. The tricky part is getting the deck correct, and most of the time you're going to fail. But if you manage to predict the metagame correctly, you're going to be in a really great spot for the tournament. Like I went undefeated in the Swiss, and I was expecting a lot of Phoenix and a lot of Ascendancy because these kind of events people that usually don't play Pioneer show up to play.
Yeah.
And I was like, people, and they usually tend to play the most popular decks, right? So I thought
Of
that
course.
people are going to play Heroic, Phoenix, and Ascendancy. Those are the 3 big decks. If I beat those and I get to pair into those a lot of times, I'm going to do super well. And I think this played out pretty well. Like I hedged my deck to play against Heroic in game 1 and like Big Red because I usually play with Giganta, but since I was trying to hedge for Aggro in game 1, I am playing the Tosemir and the second copy of Omnath.
Yep.
I also like the Deafening Clarion and the Extinction Event, so 2 Sweepers in the main.
That's nice.
A way to give lifelink to your Niv is really good when you're trying to race. And yeah, that's kind of it for the main deck. I still play the Yasharn because it's not that high of a cost to play, and if you get paired into John, you can just win you the game.
Yeah, and it's nice to, like you said before, them guaranteeing you hit like your 5th mana and stuff like that. It's important with the deck.
Yeah, the card is just good because hitting your land drops is really important in this deck. So Yasharn kind of has a permanent spot in the deck for the most part. It's just decent.
Yeah, and I watched a few games of you playing, and the deck just looked really strong. And I think it was a good choice ultimately, especially with your configuration. Like, do you want to run over, Campbell? That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, like So yeah, like I think the most important thing here is the sideboard. I chose to play a couple deafening silences. Like I have been doing this for a while, but like, the card is really good, and people sometimes are not going to see it coming from this deck because my plan against Phoenix and Ascendancy is to transition into more creatures, so this card is not going to hurt me as much.
Yeah. Because you're bringing the Notion Thieves, the Coma, Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the combo was an interesting one. I don't really like this card very much, but again, I think people not knowing that I had this in my sideboard was really good because like I was bringing this in against Phoenix and Ascendancy, and it was just surviving because people just didn't have removal for it post board.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix is going to leave a couple lightning axes, and they mostly rely on Ether Gust to deal with your creatures.
Yeah, they're going to have like a really hard time in general because like the creatures you think about when you're playing against Nev is like Nev, Omnath, Notion Thief. So like Yeah, you're probably keeping in like Lightning Axe so you can deal with both those creatures, and
Or like
obviously
fries and
Scorpion.
stuff.
Yeah, so
If I can kill this actually.
yeah, Fry can. We forget it deals with white creatures.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the chances of them having removal spell for it is just unlikely, right? They probably have two or three in the entire deck, so if they don't have the removal spell to hand, then you're laughing, right? Because as soon as you untap with it, as soon as they don't deal with it, it's kind of like Eidolon, right? They don't deal with it the turn you play it, you kind of just win, right? Like it's just really difficult for them.
Yeah, and I think gaining life, a couple life, is also really relevant, especially against Phoenix, because having like a bunch of life, the third or more life, is really good when you're playing when they go off with the extra turns. Because if you manage to take the hits from the land, you can just survive.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Because like they try and hit you with the giants. So like if you can get above like 21 land, 21 life especially, like I feel like it's very, very, very difficult for them.
Hmm. Yeah, like
So
I was really happy with this list. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep playing the combo moving forward. I think it's important to switch that to something
yeah,
else, like some other cards, because well, like people know that this was in the sideboard now, and they're going to leave in removal, and it's going to be less effective.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's um yeah, good job. The decisions.
Yeah,
I think you made a lot of good
I think this
choices.
list has a really good Phoenix matchup. Like I played it against it in the Swiss basically 5 times, and I beat it all 5 times. So
Hmm.
if you want something that's beat Phoenix, I would recommend trying to learn this deck. Pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yep.
So good job. Let's see what else happened.
Okay, sixth
Showtime.
place to have.
Showtime is Showtime's kind of like a red black 365er, right? He plays this like kind of archetype or like mono red or red. Like he tends to play like aggro strategies.
Hmm.
So they're playing the Rakdos mid-range deck. I'm not a huge fan of this. I think it's too slow. But I mean, it's got good cards in the deck, right? It's just a pile of good cards. So yeah, you expect these decks to do well. They're playing a Palace Siege in the sideboard. I haven't even read this card in so long. Um, yeah, I mean, if that resolves, I guess, in like mirrors or like other mid-range deck matchups,
Yeah,
probably.
I can say this being unbeatable in the mirror because
Yeah,
you can actually remove enchantments.
we have
Yeah,
Feed the Swarm,
in
right? But you'd never bring Feed the Swarm in because you need
the
neutral
mirror.
removal
Yeah.
as a resource. Yeah, so it's kind of a nice sneaky one of. It's got
They're
next
also
dimension.
playing Stange Uprising. Okay. So, oh yeah, this is the enchantment that keeps making 1/1s every turn. And then you
Interesting.
can deal 7 damage to any targets.
When you
Yeah,
can,
some spicy sideboard cards here.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a
Stensia Uprising.
not a huge fan of this deck as well. Like things sometimes don't line up properly and you don't have card selection.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of I I would prefer much more the first deck, the Rectus Blood deck.
Yeah, I think the um, Ragdoll Spot deck is definitely like the better of the two decks, but like I don't think, to be honest, like I don't think it's like a, I don't think the deck's bad. I just think it's probably like tier 1.5, right? It's probably just slightly worse than what some of the other decks are doing. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying the deck is bad at all. This deck usually does in tournaments.
Yeah,
It's just the kind of deck that I don't like personally.
yeah. Like I think like this is Pioneer, right? There's just so many decks that are like almost as good as the top decks, but like just not quite.
Mm-hmm.
And like over small sample sizes, it's very hard to assess like exactly what decks are better than others in the format because the beauty of the format is you can kind of play whatever you want to an extent, and you can do well if things line up. So yeah, good job, Showtime. They're I think they're quite a decent player, so expect to see them come up occasionally. Speaking
like
of,
this deck has like some nice curves. You go discard spell and to kill your creature, play a trespasser, play a
yeah,
planeswalker, and just bury your opponent.
yeah. So 7th place, we've got another one trick who does well with their one trick deck, the King with the.
I think this is what this deck does now. It shows up randomly in the top 8 of a tournament. I
Yeah,
have seen this happen like multiple times now, like the Transmogrified deck. It seems like it never catches on again. It does well one time and it disappears.
I think it's another one of those decks that's like almost as good as the top decks, but just not quite. Like, but there's not enough of a difference for the deck to not do reasonably well sometimes. I'll never get behind these decks without Teferi Time Raveler. It's just like it really takes a lot of. Like I tried to play a deck by Bilsev, the combo with Locust God and Sage of the Fells, but um, as long as your opponent can interact with your creature tokens, like it's just so difficult to go off and not really worth it in my opinion. But I mean, this deck just plays a bunch of good cards, right? It plays like Fires of Invention, it plays Esker's Chariot, Narset, and it's got a good shell for Yorion, so like it's gonna do well, right? Like these are all good cards.
Yeah.
And you've got like a toolbox sideboard to like have potential answers to whatever you're playing. So I mean, yeah, I mean I can definitely see why this deck would have done reasonably well. Like it's gonna be good against like Narset and Ascendancy on paper. And you've got decent spells to interact with the aggressive deck. So yeah, I mean, I expect this deck to be pretty good.
Yeah.
If the format turns out exactly as expected. So yeah,
I kind of want to play some Gideons though, because I remember that when I was trying to play this a couple months back, I was thinking exactly the same thing you're talking about. Like, it's easy to interact with your transmogrified targets, but Gideon is one that's pretty hard to interact with. The
yeah,
Gideon of the Trials,
exactly. No, I
and
agree.
yeah, yeah. But this deck's definitely powerful. Like it just has the playoffs, like stealing your land on turn 4 and stealing 2 lands on the next turn with the Yorion Blink. So
Yeah.
at some point, this deck was one of the top decks in the format, so it's definitely not something terrible to be playing, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this kind of Yorion decks are like the nightmare for the like Baractus decks, right? So
Yeah.
they're just outmatched.
They just have infinite cards. Like you just can't deal with like your thought seizes and go blanks can only do so much. But if you're playing decks that are getting card advantage out width of the graveyard, like it's just kind of ultimately they're just going to overpower you. Like
Yeah,
their spells are a lot more impactful than yours, so ultimately you're just going to get outmatched. Especially like Fires of Invention as well. That's just a massive like 1-2 punch, and I don't think they can recover from effectively. So yeah, I mean
hmm
this deck's going to crush those kind of decks. So yeah, good job, the King. And then Casa just like I feel like Casa just doesn't show up for like anything other than the big events, but they always seem to smash big events.
yeah.
Like I don't know who Casa is, but like they always
I
like
think they're a
they're
Japanese
so
player.
consistent. Pardon?
I think they are a Japanese player.
Yeah, but they always seem to crush like um all the top level Pioneer events. I pretty much see them top 8 all the time.
Yeah. I think I
Like I think
remember like the name when
they
they
won.
used to play a lot of Giant, right?
Yeah, they won a PTQ recently with Jund. They came
Mm-hmm.
first. So yeah, um,
I think
very
this
good
is the
player.
exact same list of the first place lists, right?
They're
So
playing
it's
two Apostle. I think it's slightly different, right? They're playing like two Apostle, Rest in
Yeah,
peace.
the sideboard numbers are a bit different. Yeah, yeah. You see, like the only deck that showed 2 copies in the top 8 is Boros Heroic. So, yep, this is the world we live in now. Your deck
Yep.
has to have interaction, or you're dead pretty quickly.
Yep, exactly. So the person you knocked out, it's your fault, Claudio. Zack Attack in 9th. We'll just go over the top 16, and I think that'll be that.
Yeah. So I
Don't
think
really.
I think he was playing like Stock Phoenix. I think.
Yeah, like I don't really want to really. Once we see like kind of stock lists, I don't really want to spend too much time discussing them because it's kind of like repeating the same things over and over. But like, yeah, another stock Phoenix list playing one less Treasure Cruise, an extra Galvanic Iteration in that place.
Yeah, I think the major difference that people playing Phoenix or not these days, if they're playing Hullbreaker Horror in the sideboard.
I don't like that. I don't really. I just don't think like. I think like Phoenix. I played against an opponent in a league and they were playing like 2 Hullbreakers and Niv Mizzet Perun. I'm like, you're playing 19 lands. Like, what are you doing? Like, I get it. Like, you could theoretically set up for the Hall of the Storm. It's nice having Hall of the Storm Giants because the opportunity cost is super low, right? So, like, yeah, you will get games that will go super long sometimes, and you will be able to use Hall as a combo piece, but like, it doesn't happen that often, right? Like, and I don't think loading up your sideboard with 7 drops is a realistic way to win like these kind of long games. Like I think like the way you do it is like you just outvalue like gain more like card advantage than your opponent and just like play a little bit of a little bit more of a Delver strategy, put some chip damage in, and then like play trespass with multiple iterations to take the turns to finish them off. Like I don't think Hullbreaker Horror is the way to go.
I think I disagree a little bit because since I played Niv a lot, this is I know how the dynamic of some matchups goes when you're playing Phoenix. And in some matchups you cannot win with your normal plan. You need to play something that goes over the top pretty hard. Either like Kraken Drake plus a Fling or the Hullbreaker. I'm not
But
sure I
like
agree with playing multiple copies as well.
yeah, like that's
But
what I
it's a
would
really scary card. I don't know.
it's definitely a scary card, but it's just hard to play it with mana to protect it. Like if you're playing against control, like they're likely to have instant speed interaction, and I just don't. I would rather play something like a Crackling Drake against decks, especially if decks are like going down the Deafening Silence plan. Like I think Crackling Drake is just a better all rounder to like a must answer threat, or you probably lose the game. I prefer Crackling Drake, I'd say. But I mean, I understand why people would play Hullbreaker. I just don't think on average it's going to work out the way you want it to. And I quite like Zach's list. I think they've recognized that like you don't really want to play those really expensive, like because in my opinion, like your Hall of the Storm Giants kind of acts like a Hullbreaker Horror anyway. Like it's just a 7/7 that's really hard to interact with. Um, so yeah, I like this list. Zach knows what he's doing. Very good player. So
Yeah.
and
So
then
let's see what we have here. In 10th place. This is like pretty stock giant food.
yeah, with 4
Mm.
Necromantia, which I can kind of understand.
Yeah. This deck is
Uh,
bad against Ascendancy, so it makes sense to have a bunch of hate cards in the sideboard.
yeah.
Like
LED
just
91.
uh,
Oh, sorry.
Lev's playing Burn, like the Felix Lu kind of build.
Super low to the ground
Super
burn.
low to the ground with the Epicures and Fiery Tempers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this deck is that. The deck is not very popular at all, but this is kind of playing to the same strengths of the heroic deck. It is just trying to be really fast.
Yep. Yep.
And
Super low to the ground.
I kind of see the meta game going this direction when people starts to play a bunch of spot removal to deal with heroic.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I hate this deck. It looks unwinnable for anything I play against anything I play most of the time.
Yeah, I think this is just very well built. It has 4 gatekeepers in the sideboard, infinite burn in game 1. So yeah,
Nice.
very nice. So 12
Um,
plays my Queen Sauce, playing Phoenix.
yeah.
Stock, that is the horrors in the sideboard.
But Winsauce loves like complaining about Pioneer, then playing Pioneer for whatever reason. And they're playing Stock Phoenix, which makes sense. Like I would play Stock Phoenix if this wasn't my format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just not play any Phoenix list without any bounce spells in your sideboard.
Yeah,
You're
like
just asking to get owned by Deafening Silence.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, like I would play Stern Dismissals as a two of. Like Aethergust is like fine, but I don't really care
Yeah, you
for
can
it.
play Dismissal or Brazen Border, or like Burk Border is also good, but I would
Yeah.
play some, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would yeah. I'd probably play like sneak one copy of Brazen into the main somewhere and like one on the board. Um yeah.
Yeah, I guess Brazen is awkward because you can find Brazen off pieces of the puzzle, so you could
Yeah,
just get
Stern might be better.
these turns, yeah.
Because I think the mistake people make is like they play four copies of pieces of puzzle and then they have like loads of creatures. Like it's another reason, like, I don't know. I think it's another like red cross against Hullbreaker in my eyes. Like I don't know, not just not a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
Um,
like you already have to. I think it's a fair point because you already have to play like 2 copies of Jace if you're trying to win the game that way. Because sometimes you're just going to mill one over 2 pieces.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, there's definitely a cost in playing creatures in your sideboard. That's for sure. Like if you're playing creatures, you want to be sideboarding out some copies of Fuse of the Puzzle. Maybe it's
Hmm.
something you have to take into account.
Yeah, yeah, interesting, but not really to be honest. All the Phoenix decks kind of look the same, but with slight
Yeah,
changes. And then again, we've got Tiago Saporito with Messina
yeah,
Linda's list. Funnily enough,
yeah.
seems to be doing well. I would
It's
Tiago,
the same list we saw that she was playing. So right, it's the same.
yeah. So nothing really to add to that. We spoke about that earlier in the podcast. Good Jabberwocky with his Jabberwocky loves playing the same list regardless and does well because it's Jabberwocky. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Playing blue white. I think this deck's became less popular. I think it's very bad against heroic. To be honest, I think a lot of
yeah.
decks can get under blue white. Like this is once
Especially
again,
with 0 portable holes, no one
yeah.
mana
Like
removal spells.
this is why I've never played blue white for a long time because I just think there's just no efficient removal and I just don't like that. Like I think you need cards like Fatal Push in a control deck to be viable and I don't buy that this is like better in a format that if aggro is remotely popular, I just wouldn't touch this deck. Like I just don't think it's good enough.
Yeah,
Um, Jabberwocky can do what he wants because he's a much better Magic player than myself. But
yeah.
um,
The both of us combined, I think. So
yeah, but like any player that on our level or below, I would just say don't even think about playing this because they can win with ham sandwiches. You can't. Just put it away. Don't think about it. Let them play the deck, and yeah, we'll
yeah,
leave it at
like
that.
for blue eyes to be a good choice, you want the metagame to be slow with some combo decks and like some mid-rangey derpy decks that you can just farm with your counters.
Yeah.
But I would not touch this right now.
No.
Heroic can just kill you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So here we have the Magicer. I think he was playing Heroic as well.
Yeah. I think Magicer tends to follow. Like I think Magicer has a good eye on what's good in the format right now. Like he was playing Ascendancy quite recently. I think he's kind of realized that like maybe this is the deck to be playing, and they've done pretty well. Like 6-2. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good result.
Yeah, overall, Tacting did really well in this event. You love to see it. It's a bunch of us doing
Yeah.
like making top 8 and doing very well. Like 6-2, Lev did 1-6-2 as well, I think.
Yeah, Lev did a good result. I mean, then yourself and Traff top 8, and the squats getting third place. That was good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we can look top 16. John made a top 16, but there's nothing really. It's just standard John. I don't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah, if anything, I think I would play this right now. I would play this version if you want to play John because of how bad food is against the combo decks. This is a combo deck itself, so
yeah,
and
quite
Breeze
like
of the
it.
Forgotten Gods is quite good against Sylvan Caryatid. So
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
all right. I think that's pretty much covers like all the events.
Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, as a roundup, what are you expecting the weekend to look like for the ManaTraders?
Oh yeah, I think people are going to spam a bunch of heroic. I think heroic and Phoenix probably.
Okay.
I don't think anything is going to change from that.
So
But
how
it's
would you?
ManaTraders. ManaTraders is a bit weird, so we might see some different stuff popping up.
Yeah, I agree. How would you meta if you think it's going to be very aggro, like very heroic centric?
Honestly, the issue is that I think if Ascendancy was not going to be super popular, honestly, I think I would probably like to play Vampires.
Yeah,
Vampires could be a good gamble.
I agree. Yeah, vampires could be the one.
Yeah, like you're decent against like all the aggro decks pretty much. Like Monreds and Heroic, and you're decent against Phoenix. It's not like the best matchup, but you're pretty okay.
Yeah, and I don't think you're awful against Ascendancy either. Like if you get enough hand attack and definitely silence resolves post board, like I've lost games to vampires many a time because of that. Like just getting my hand attacked and then medium pressure on the board. So yeah, vampires could be the way to go.
Yeah, I think we're both playing the events, and we have the deadline in 2 days to submit our decks. So
I need to check this. ManaTraders, yeah, I'll check that. But yeah, I think that's it. That wraps it up today, and hopefully you all found it interesting. Once again, thanks for listening, and Claudio and I will see you all in a couple of weeks.
yeah, that sounds pretty good, man. I think we did a pretty good job covering what's in play right now.
Yeah.
And where things are going. I think we are seeing like Ascendancy starting to fall off a little bit, and the metagame becoming super aggressive.
I agree.
Yeah, as always, the wheel will turn, and we are going to keep moving forward.
Exactly.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
that's been it. See
yeah,
you all next time.
yeah. Bye.